full winter tour of the garden. Just kind of see what's going on here in the winter. So this is the front entrance here, obviously where the sign is. You can pan down to where we have cross over the fence here. Our blueberry bushes and our comfrey mixed together here in the front. So this is kind of like a nice little example of edible landscaping. It looks somewhat tidy and orderly most of the year. A few flowers here. Of course, everything is missing its leaves now for the winter. Here on the side of the house, the south side of the house, got this gorgeous giant fig tree that produces some years hundreds of figs, and it's been there for decades. So it's got a really nice thick root system. The other part of our front area here, we've got the strawberry lawn mixed with a few native perennial flowers. To the right, some thornless blackberry that haven't done so well in the last year or so. We've had so much rain. Most of us here in the DC area are breaking all-time annual records for rain, so a lot of the plants just haven't been as productive as usual. This is a nice native black cherry. We try to reuse as many things from the property as we can, and so this is an example of just a nice little handrail that you know, where we cut some branches off of a tree to open up some sunspots, and then wanted to reuse the wood. This is crepe myrtle timber, and it just had a nice little shape to it to help us get down this little hill here. This is the first elderberry plant that we come across on the property, hence the part of the name elderberry. This is one of my favorite crops. It's one of our only commercial crops where we make elderberry syrup and sell that locally. I'll do a separate video on that kind of start to finish harvest end product at some point. We have a great example of what to do with a giant log or trunk from a tree that's too big for you to move it. Just turn it into a planting bed. And so I cut kind of a wedge into the top of this with the chainsaw, just filled it up with soil, and now this is my daughter's little fairy garden area, so you can see the little figurines hiding in there. It looks really nice in the summer with the flowers all sticking out of there. So as we head towards the northeast corner of the lot, we're coming up to an area that's being staged for a big renovation I'm about to do, which I'll make a separate video on. I'm going to be getting rid of these raised beds. They've been here about 6 years and have kind of served their purpose and done their time, and I really want to transform this into more of a unified space. So as I turn east, you kind of see what I'm talking about. I've got grapevines up on the fence line there, and there's a nice little step down terrace. A little harder to see in the back are some goji berries, black raspberries, and more black raspberries as I pan over to the south there. And so what I want to be able to do is try to give you a better scope of the project area. I want to be able to kind of tie all these features together, get rid of these beds, turn this into more of a mandala type of shape, or just a series of keyhole gardens to maximize the amount of planting space that's usable. I get really sick of having to take care of the grass and weeds and stuff in between these beds. And so that's part of the idea behind that project. As I kind of swing around to the other side, you can see here I've got a giant hugelkultur bed. So there's a bunch of buried woody debris under that mess. And tiny little peach trees just planted last year. These are nicely tucked on the north side of some larger trees here. Reason being that that will help them to not flower too early in the spring and then lose a bunch of their buds. Here's another tiny little peach tree. So we'll check in on those in the spring and summer and see how much they're growing. A couple of elderberries that are sort of just growing themselves back here, and I just kind of let them do their thing. And as we continue on down the north, so now we'll slide over here and Check out this apple guild. This is a Cortland apple, about 5 years old. In the middle is a gummy berry. It produces yummy, very healthy berries in the springtime. And then fixes nitrogen, so just pumping nitrogen into the ground all year. That's why it's so big, and we'll cut it back and it'll grow right back like that next year. To the left of the gummy is a Honeycrisp. It's actually the same age as the Cortland. Hasn't grown as much, but it's been pretty good. Hasn't produced for us yet, and they are pollinator partners, so we're still waiting on the flowers. We've gotten a lot of Cortlands, but as soon as the Honeycrisp starts to flower, we should get a lot more. As I pan across the path here, to the left is a Liberty apple, which is a younger apple, about it's in its 3rd year now. And we'll do a pruning on all of these before spring, and we'll do a pruning video, come back and talk about that. But moving on, behind the feathergrass here, we've got hardy kiwi vine. This is the female. Kind of zoom in on the base there of the vine. You can see the thickness, and I'm just weaving it through the fence here at the back of the property. And as it starts to outgrow that, I'll just cut the links in the fence, kind of let it free. But we do a lot of pruning on that to try to keep it from just running completely crazy. Trim it more bush-like, and that'll hopefully help it to be more productive when it starts producing fruit. They do take a little while. It's in its 3rd year now, and I don't expect I'll get fruit for maybe another couple of years or so. As I pan to the left, we've got the biggest elderberry trees on the property. And oh, there's a little guest. She's come to visit. What kind of trees are these, Josie?
I forgot.
Ah, we'll cover that. It's a pop quiz. We're going to prune these all the way back to the ground this year. They were not very productive last year, and I'm thinking that may be part of the reason, because I've pruned them much more in the past and they've done a lot better. As we climb through this jungle of overgrown perennials and such here, fight our way back, there's a male hardy kiwi vine, and so we keep that one. It's the same thing, woven through the chain link fence. We keep it fairly close to the female so that it can pollinate, and it's doing pretty well. Not as robust growth as the female has so far. As we follow this north into the property, come along a passion flower vine, the maypop, which is still kind of kicking here, even though we've had snow already. We've had plenty of freezes. It's a tough vine, and of course the beautiful passion flower vines that it produces look really great on this back fence. We've got a couple of new cherry trees. This little guy here is a Sam cherry, and then it's got its friend over here, which is the Rainier, which I just love so much, and they're so expensive here on the East Coast. So looking forward to growing some of my own Rainier cherries. Those are both new this year and doing really well. We'll do a video. We've done a little video where we talk about soil already, but we'll do another video on just some of these ground structures that we've got in place back here. This is pomegranate. This one's done pretty well. It put on some fruit this year. None of it got to the point where it was fully edible before it dropped, and it's only been here. It's its 3rd year, but I had to move it once. I didn't like the location before. One of the things that's really cool about coming out here in winter is you can see the kind of bones of the system. So if I back up a little bit, you can see some rocks back there, and my goal is to eventually use those to ring all the way around the pomegranate and use that as a little bit of a heat sink so that it gets some thermal mass and doesn't lose as much heat in the wintertime, because pomegranate's one of those ones that's just barely on the fringe of the zone. We're about zone A, 7A or 7B here, depending on the year. And then it's got a little buddy that's probably really hard to see right now, but it's tiny. That one's died back to the ground a couple of years in a row, and still looking for that one to hopefully hold on for a whole winter so it can put on as much growth as this guy here. As I pan around, come by the little fish pond. So that needs a good dredging of all the debris, but you can kind of see, zoom in, the fish are still happy. Keep the mosquitoes down. Pond features here mostly to encourage wildlife, certainly birds, and used sort of as a mosquito trap as well. They come lay their eggs in there and then the fish eat it. I don't feed the fish anything. I can do a whole video on the pond if that's something you're interested in. Let me know in the comments. Did it myself. It's really low tech, and it's been there for a couple years working really, really well. I'm really happy with that. As we pan across, this is the main annual vegetable garden, which not much going on right now, of course. Gonna put to bed for the winter. We did our video on adding the leaf mulch down to all these beds. A few little carrots still hiding. They're actually pretty good size, but I had a visit from a deer that came and ate them down to the nub, so we're pulling out good 6-7 inch carrots out this time of year, and they're nice and sweet. They sweeten up from the cold nights. Comfrey still hanging on there. Come through, you can see the dead okra. And I leave a lot of this brush for most of the winter, partly because not really any point in clearing it. I don't need the space. Some people don't like the untidy look. This is all chia that had grown and died back. But, you know, we do things, kind of let nature do its thing here. This is a loofah vine that's all sad and collapsed. Just a few weeks ago it was just humming with beautiful flowers and bees still on it. And now it's gone for the winter. Alright, let's see as we very closely. This is a young pawpaw. If you're not familiar with the pawpaw, it's a really great native perennial fruit tree. Sort of like a banana and a mango mixed together. It's almost like a tropical fruit that grows here in the temperate region, and so they take a long time to grow. I've put in 3 on the property because I'm pretty excited about them. This is a rogue fig. Came up from some hugelkultur debris that I'd put down there. That was kind of a nice surprise. This is a pawpaw that was put in at the same time as the other one, has done quite a bit better. See it against the backdrop of the magnolia there. As we continue on, we've got a mimosa tree here, considered by most to be kind of an invasive. It spreads readily, but as I know Toby Hemingway, another well-known permaculturist, has said, you know, let's call them advantageous. This is another nitrogen fixer. It finds these weird little niches. You know, this is right by the sidewalk here, right up against the concrete where almost nothing else would grow like this. Trimmed it back to about right here this winter, somewhere in this zone. And this is all growth from this year. I mean, just up and up and up and up. Still a few leaves there at the top. Just pumping nitrogen into the ground. And it's becoming partly trellis for this grapevine that is right next to it. Kind of swings across to the magnolia. So we'll duck under there, follow our way down the path here towards the herb spiral. This is the first permaculture principle I ever learned, or concept, or project, whatever you like to call it. I was just looking for a creative way to build my herb bed. Found this online and haven't looked back since. Not looking so wonderful now, but you know, at its peak it's just a beautiful feature, of course very useful. Hard to tell from all the death and overgrowth right now, but in there right now is rosemary, sage, thyme, lemon balm. It's the chia that kind of went crazy over there, some basil that had grown. So a mix of annuals and perennials. Put fennel in there from time to time. Just stuff that I like to have close to the house. As I swing left here, we've got a lot of good native species here. Some swamp hibiscus, cattails. So this is obviously a really wet site. This was a former pond on the property that wasn't functioning very well, and so I dug out part of it. We pull from over there in the corner of the rain barrel. Anything overflows just comes in here, hits this wet spot. Cattails soak up a bunch of it. Those parts of the cattails that are edible. I'm not too keen on eating this because this is a lot of there's just a lot of wastewater that ends up in here, put it that way, from the roof of the house, the street, and then that cattail soaking up all that stuff. So still got a few flowers here. Another reason why we leave stuff kind of sitting around. You never know when you get a little late bloom. Help the bees survive a little bit longer. You can see the bags of leaves still up there from our last video, and there's our arbor, a really nice grape arbor, Uamau Ke'ea Oka'aina Ikapono. Fantastic Hawaiian saying. This is a gift to my Hawaiian wife. The direct translation is sovereignty of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. But as we stand here on a permaculture farm, I always sort of interpret it as, you know, you really have no right to be on the land unless you love it and care for it. So it's very apt what we're trying to do here. As we swing around, these were the sweet potato beds. They're empty now, covered with leaves for the winter. Pan back, we have a mini food forest here along these terraces. It's a north-facing terrace, and it's partly under the canopy of a really big willow oak, so not ideal, but as we keep on going, got to the Asian persimmons. These are dwarf varieties. Getting a little bit bigger, should see some fruit next year for the first time. We continue on down, we have two different varieties of pear that have not put fruit on yet. The bigger one has put flowers on. As soon as the little one puts flowers on, maybe we'll get that cross-pollination. Pan across the compost bin. If you haven't seen our video on how we make compost here, check that out. Filling that up for the winter. And take a quick peek inside the greenhouse. Not much going on right now. I do have a awesome passion flower vine that takes over, and that a lot of times will survive way into winter. It'll stay green way into winter inside here. The thermometer's broken. I'm gonna fix that. I'll do really a whole video on the greenhouse and some of the ideas why I did some of this stuff. Some of this might look familiar to you, but come back and cover some of that later. Right now, I just want to finish up the tour here as we swing around. Got our food waste compost, a couple of pumpkins thrown in there from our jack-o'-lanterns. Another elderberry here. Swing around, some currant bushes, a lot of debris from cutting. Did some trimming of the mulberry back here, sort of taking over. Another pawpaw, this one's doing really well. They really like a good amount of shade, especially early on in their life. Pan around this way, we've got Hugo Coulter bed here. Really not much planted in it yet. Still kind of thinking of plans for that. And going to be hopefully moving some asparagus over into this area pretty soon. Maybe I'll do a video on that as well. Looking back towards the food forest terrace. As we head back over to the side, we've got our filbert or hazelnut trees, two different cultivars of hazelnut. This one produced nuts for the first time this year, and the squirrels got all of them before I did. So I'm still looking forward to actually eating them. So that's our food forest Elderbear Farm annual garden tour for the day. We'll take care of our winter tour, and we'll of course do another one in the spring, another full tour to show you how everything is coming back as we approach one of our south-facing strawberry beds. Kind of old cold frame here. So tune in. We'll have, like I mentioned as I was walking through, we'll have videos on a lot of different content. We're going to be talking about pruning, we'll be talking about rebuilding an entire area of the garden and more permaculture friendly principles. We'll be looking at water management and how I manage the water that runs through this system. All kinds of stuff. So subscribe if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button, like the video, or leave some comments about questions or what you'd like to see, and we'll do our best to cover those. See you soon.